I have made the stupidest purchase of all time. Biplanes. This is a physical version of an Intellivision Amico game. Now, what the hell is an Intellivision Amico? I don't even think Intellivision Amico knows. So this is one of those consoles that gets announced and like you already know, like it's, what is this gonna do? Like the Atari VCS, like you can try. Like I'm all for you trying to make a console, but you're not gonna make a console. You're gonna put out a product that like a couple people are gonna buy to review on YouTube, and then nobody else is going to even look at. The console space is tough these days. There's only a couple companies that can really warrant putting out a video game console. And the only major ones are the ones that are doing them. Anybody else that even has the capital to do so, I don't think they have the knowledge of the video game industry you truly need. I think so many companies like Google and Amazon think they know, but they don't really know. They'll just throw money at a bunch of random things without actually truly knowing how to create a video game console with a strong library. They just think if they put Assassin's Creed on it, it'll sell well. And you can add Intellivision Amico to the list, but partially. It's a weird one. So this was headed up by Talarico. He was a fairly well-known video game composer. He's worked in the video game industry for decades, though it's pretty much always just been music. And even then, some games are credited with him as the composer, though in reality, just another composer used like his own studio. So, you know, like he's credited for a lot of games, but I think some of those are kind of technicalities. But that shouldn't take away from how impressive his resume is. He's truly done so much in the video game industry, and so much for the video game industry. He headed up Video Games Live, which was pretty much taking an orchestra and traveling all across the country, all across the world, and performing at these concert halls, really elevating video game music to be seen as not just video game music, but music. But he was a legitimate name in video game music. Why did he think he could make a console? He pretty much bought the Intellivision name. So Intellivision was a really old school game console that competed with the Atari 2600. And it did fairly well. But at the same time, it wasn't the Atari, and it was also a dead IP. Nobody cares about the Intellivision anymore. Even people that claim they care about the Intellivision, do they? I think they care about it in the sense that it's a piece of video game history. But, I mean, why do you care about it in any other form other than that? The games are garbage. Not only are the games garbage, the controller is even worse. I'd say with Atari games, you can actually go back and play a lot of them and still have a good time. You know, they're really stupid simple, but at the same time, like, they're pretty charming. Intellivision, I don't know what the is going on in half of these games. And even if I do know what's going on, they're not fun. I'd honestly say out of the big three at that time, which was Atari 2600, Intellivision, and ColecoVision, I think Intellivision was like at the bottom of the barrel there. It just wasn't very good. ColecoVision had some pretty solid stuff on there. And you could also swap out the ColecoVision controller, which was very similar to the Intellivision, and swap that out for an Atari or Sega Genesis controller, which was a godsend. But Atari was the obvious winner there. It may not have had the best graphics, and it may have had a ton of shovelware, but those are the games from that era I'm most likely to play these days. But when they announced the Intellivision Amico, you know, like they obviously kind of wanted to spin the marketing as if it was like, man, remember Intellivision? Like, man, you know, we're trying to reignite the same value that the Intellivision brand pushed forward back in the early 80s. And I'm like, no. The Intellivision IP was cheap. You bought it, and now you're trying to make a new console with this name. That's the only reason why it's called the Intellivision Amico. It's not because the brand really meant something. It doesn't. It's just recognizable. There's nothing about Intellivision that I'm like, man, god damn it, I want that to come back. But yeah, Talarico announced the Intellivision Amico. And what this was promised to be was a super budget, family-friendly video game console, where you don't have to worry about all those M-rated sex games. you, your grandma, and your kid can all just sit down and enjoy a game where you don't have to learn anything. You can just sit down and have fun. That remind you of anything? So I understand why they are going for this market, because it's kind of that blue ocean strategy the Wii went for. You know, don't try and compete with everybody else, try and go for a market that's untapped. The problem is that market untapped? This is the same thing the Wii was going for. And all the people that kind of like was nursed on the Wii, if they didn't upgrade to like a really core game console or a modern game console that's being released these days, they're content going on their smartphones. But that's where the Intellivision Amico had an ace up their sleeve. So their controllers would be touchscreen based. So that way, you know, like, hey, oh my god, it's like the Wii again, but it's for our touchscreen riddled brains because of our smartphones. So it's perfect. If you know how to use a smartphone, then you know how to use the Intellivision Amico. This is just the goddamn Wii U again. Yeah, a controller with a second screen that's going for like a casual market. It's just the fucking Wii U, and that bombed. And to be fair, that was $300, but still, like, I don't think that would have done much better if it was $200. But Amico was trying to push how all games would be ready on day one, no updates necessary, and no microtransactions. And all the retro gamers cheered. But these are the same retro gamers that are miserable and don't play anything new these days and are stuck in the past. I love retro games. I absolutely adore them, but a lot of the retro game community has just a funny little stick up their ass. And they don't like updates to games because, like, well, updates. I hate them. So I guess you just want your game to be broken upon release and also just not functioning and also never improve as time goes on. We live in a different world these days. Games were way simpler back then, and thus it was a lot less likely they'd ship completely broken. Nowadays, games are so ridiculously complex that, yeah, you have to do a day one update sometimes. Even games that are like from companies like Nintendo, like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, launched with a day one update. They're necessary, they're good to have. And yeah, it's really annoying that modern games have day one updates and they're so big. It's just like, it's either that or not. And I'd rather have that than not, because like, these games would be broken. And I don't really think it's the update's fault. I think it's more so like we need to reevaluate how this game development is being managed. You know, it's not the game developers' fault. I feel like it's probably like the higher-ups where like the way they're directing things and the way they're managing things is making it so then all these modern games kind of launch in a buggy or broken state. But to pretty much be like, no updates, no microtransactions, no none of this. I think it's just kind of weird, because on base level, that sounds great, but then when you go a little deeper, it's something where it's like, okay, no updates means, like, so games are just gonna launch completely broken, and no microtransactions, like, yeah, they're annoying, but still, like, that's how many game developers make money, and some microtransactions aren't done in very bad ways, so just denying they even exist at all on your platform, like, yeah, as a consumer, you're gonna be like, oh my god, that's so cool. But then you're gonna realize, like, in a year, nobody wants to make games for your platform, and also you're not making a lot of money on your platform. And it's just the way the modern market goes. So, like, yeah, I think they were just trying to win over consumers with that without actually really thinking it through. Like, how about this? All the games you put into production don't have microtransactions and are ready on day one, but you need the infrastructure there if you want more games on your platform and you want to keep game developers happy and with consistent revenue. Like, you want to make sure they can do that if they want. But Amico wasn't going for that. They wanted a curated game library. Biplanes. Yeah, this game library that they promised was really, really strange. So first up, this game controller was pretty much just a wheel and a touchscreen, which looked dumb. But they also promised Earthworm Jim 4 was going to be on the Amico. Might I ask, how? How with that controller? You're going to make a 2D platformer? But they also had other things like arcade-style games, party games, educational games. This was really targeted at the family demographic. But they also wanted to target it towards the retro gamer demographic, the ones that hated the Wii. So I don't know who the hell this was for, man. The games did not look good. They all look like flash games, really cheap mobile games, with some of them, in fact, being discovered to have been old mobile games in the past. Apparently the processor used for this thing was from like a smartphone from 2016, and then like they randomly just like they were like, we're not gonna make certain release dates, and yeah, we haven't heard a damn thing from this thing ever since. There is so much more to the story. Like, so much more. The Intellivision Amico may be one of the more interesting controversies and scandals, all that stuff, and it's something that I definitely would want to talk about even more so at a later date. But what I want to talk about here are the games that released. So yeah, at this point, the video game console has not released. We haven't heard a peep about this thing for months. But Tommy Talarico announced that there would be physical media for the Amico. It would primarily be a digital platform, but they would release physical media. What the hell is this? So yeah, on the Amico website, you could buy these physical games months, even like years before the system actually came out. This was the first 8 Amico games, and I bought them all in a bundle. Mainly when I started seeing how the Amico was probably not gonna happen. I was kind of like, wow. I have the chance to buy all these games for a console that doesn't fucking exist. I had to do it. It was so stupid. I had to do it. So the Amico apparently did not have a game slot. There was nothing there. So what these are pretty much like little NFC cards that you tap on the Amico, and then it'll give you like your digital download for the thing. So I guess that's kind of a cute little way to get around it, but to call them physical games is obviously a little slimy. It's a digital code, pretty much. But I will give the Amico credit. This is way cooler than how other game consoles do their physical code. So just as an example, I saw that Just Dance 2023 does not come with any physical game in any version on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. It's a digital code. I know Switch has NFC, but if the other consoles had NFC, it would be cool if you got like a little game card like this and you could just beep, put it on your system like that. The code is definitely cheaper to produce, but this is at least a little cooler. You at least kind of get something a lot more tangible than just a slip with a download code on it. I also do think it's pretty cute how they did kind of replicate the original Intellivision box design here. Most of my Intellivision games are in just like rotten condition, but here we have Shark, and you would open it up like this, and you have instruction manual, and then the game cartridge, which looks like this. And yeah, when we look at the Intellivision Amico games, yeah, that's pretty similar. I think that's kind of cute the way they did that. So yeah, even though this is genuinely stupid as hell, I do think this is kind of cute in many ways, So we open this up and we get this little holographic card with art on it. And then we have this back that just tells us a little bit about the game. That's kind of cool. And look at that, there's the Amico! Oh, but still my aching heart. Maybe someday, my sweet. Then we, of course, have the game card and a collector's coin here, which is also kind of cool. We got the Intellivision Amico little logo there. Obviously, these shouldn't be bought by anybody. This is a waste of money. But if you like stupid garbage like I do, like I like collecting stuff that is like so bizarre, so weird, like just like kind of like, why? And this was right up my alley. Also, these they said these are NFTs. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I'm pretty happy that my NFT collection starts and ends with the Intellivision Amico games. If I had to get an NFT, sure, yeah, Intellivision Amico. It also just kind of shows how stupid they are. But yeah, I own the whole lineup of Intellivision Amico games, and I only got them mainly because I really wanted to own the games for a console that never released. Even if they are, like technically digital codes, I still think it's cool. I mean, they all have ESRB ratings, which, that's something. Weirdly enough, Biplanes has a slightly different font. They had like 8 games and they couldn't even get that right. However, I have to admit something. I did lie. This isn't the stupidest thing I ever bought, because I bought them again. I had to get them sealed. I mean, like, come on, this is so stupid. Maybe someday the Intellivision Amico will actually come out, but I ain't holding my breath. In the meantime, though, I wanted to get this mainly because I didn't know how much longer they'd be available, and I also didn't know if anybody actually bought these damn things. And I just found it so stupid that I had to pick it up. The idea of owning games for a console that never released is just too stupid for me. I love it. I think it's kind of scummy that they call these physical games because they really aren't, but at the same time, I think this is kind of a cute way to get around it. Even if it is a little shady, you know, I think they thought it through to a decent amount. I'm kind of like, hey, yeah, good for you there. Now it's time to just release your damn console. The story of the Amico is fascinating. There's so many twists and turns, and I would love to talk about it more, or I would love to specifically research it a little more, because I just gave a Cliff Notes version just off the top of my head, but there's a lot more to it that I don't really, I can't really think of right now. But yeah, it's definitely pretty interesting. So if you would like to hear said story, I'd be open to telling you. Because if this is the last time you're gonna see this, I mean, like, nobody wants that.